Welcome to the Welcome Screen. This is episode 5. As always, this is KDX Gaming. Your top left features Monsters Rage, and your top right features the living emoji, Angry Iceberg. Today we have several topics, including Fallout, No Man's Sky, a little bit of retro gaming, stream setup tips, how to avoid trolls in your channel, the Star Wars review embargo, and more. First, we will start out with, of course, more than likely what is going to be the game of the year. That's Fallout 4. Sky, a little bit of retro gaming. Oh wait, I have my stream up. That's not going to be good for reverb. Okay, there we go. So in Fallout 4, we all know what the beginning of the game is. Depending on which you choose, male or female, it depends on kind of the heartstrings that get pulled in the beginning of the game. I'd like to hear your guys' takes on maybe some of the glitches or maybe some of the worst parts of the game, and then some of your best moments in the game. Let's start off with Monster.
All right. Well, I've only been recently playing this the beginning of this week, so I've only played maybe about 6 hours into it so far. But I will say the collision in this game is terrible. There's been so many times I have died just because I'm trying to jump over something and I jump up. I'm not jumping over it, I'm jumping up. And I'm getting shot and I'm jumping up. And I'm screaming and yelling and I'm jumping up. And then finally, when I do jump over it, I'm dead because I've been hit 6 or 7 times. The collision detection, it needs work. It needs work. But aside from that, like the actual game itself, I really like the scenery, the background art. They did an amazing job. Even the creatures that pop up, they really look highly detailed. And I'm a visual person when I play games. And I don't give games scores because I don't believe in it, but part of the reason I enjoy a game is because visually, just looking at it, it's stunning to me. So that already gave it a heads up when I started into it. The storyline, there's a lot of, side quest stuff. I'll get to it when I get to it, but the main storyline so far is pretty decent. I don't really want to dive into it because I don't want to give any spoilers away. But let's just say I was saving a certain detective and it wasn't fun. That's all I have to say. Go ahead, Angry.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I really only played like a couple hours of it before I was like, you know what, time to go back to Destiny. I think for me, it was a little bit, the pace of the game was a little bit slower than I liked. For me, since I was streaming, it's not a game I prefer, a type of game I prefer to stream, just mainly because it's so slow and whatnot. And plus, I'd never really played a Fallout game before, so it took me a little getting used to. People were laughing at me because I didn't even realize what VATS was until I watched somebody else. So there was that whole thing. So I was like, when I was trying to shoot that first big giant dragon rat thing there kind of towards the beginning, I was doing it without the benefit of VATS or anything like that. So so that kind of maybe made my experience a little less there. But as far as like glitches, man, it was the collision is a little weird, wonky. It seemed like I was just dragging things around. I'd look down and just start dragging it around, and I'd be like, "What the hell's going on?" I couldn't get rid of it, and so and again, I haven't really gone back to it since the day it came out, and so you guys definitely have a better perspective than I do.
Well, my experience in Fallout 4, I have experienced some kind of not game-breaking glitches, but really just kind of off-the-wall glitches. One that I keep actually recurring to is when you're in one of the houses with Codsworth after you're trying to clear out Sanctuary, and he finds a life signature in the second house. And we go into the second house, we clear all the bode flies, and then when you go to talk to Codsworth, he's halfway in the ceiling, and that's just redonkulous. One other one is sometimes when you shoot somebody in VATS and you kill them, they'll fly 30 feet in the air for no reason. When you shoot them with a pipe pistol that does no damage, and they'll just start flying up. It's the usual Bethesda glitches. Now, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to preference it by saying it needs to be in here. And Bethesda's kind of known for glitches. If you think Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, Skyrim, Morrowind, they all had glitches similar to this. So I think maybe they left some of these glitches and bugs in on purpose to make it feel like a Bethesda game.
I don't think so. I think it's just there's a lot of bugs in there that need to be fixed, and they know it. It was a very big game, like ambitious game for next gen console for them to throw this together, and I think they were under a little bit of pressure and time constraints with everything else coming out in the holiday season. So just like a lot of other games, it got pushed out a little too quickly, and they're just gonna patch it along the way. That's how I feel anyway. Because yeah, I've heard other gamers when I was streaming it myself talking about the fact that they would use a fat man and send a nuke in, and just before the explosion would happen, it would quick save their game, and then the explosion would happen and it would kill them. And then it would load them up right before that nuke hit again, and it was just an infinite loop of them dying, and they couldn't go any further. So there are a lot of bugs that need to be addressed in the game.
Yeah, I think Daddy Dirty Bear, he makes a great point. It says, we give Bethesda a pass, every other dev burn with your glitches. But you know what? I think we come to expect these glitches. I mean, we still love these games. They eventually do get better. But I mean, I almost didn't buy Fallout right away just because of I knew there was going to be glitches. But the only reason I bought it right away is because I'm a streamer and I want to get in on that first day hype. But then again, I realized really quickly it just wasn't for me as a streamer. This is a game, again, that I just want to sit on my couch and play without having to deal with anybody else laughing at how bad I am at the game.
Nice. Yeah, I'm right now in the middle of a one life challenge with Fallout 4. I decided to make the game even harder on myself, where every time I die, I have to start the entire game over again. And I'm doing it all for charity. And sometimes it can be frustrating because you die out of nowhere a lot, depending on what side of the street you're walking on. But it adds a level of challenge to the game, and I really don't mind dying because I just get to redo it and try something else, and maybe that works a little bit better. So that's my viewpoint on it. I've yet to beat the game. I've yet to get even close to beating the game right now. So we'll see if I ever get there. I'm sure I will eventually. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun getting there. The next topic I do have is No Man's Sky. Now, at Paris Games Week, Hello Games did announce June 2016 is when we will see Fallout Sky. Or, not Fallout Sky, No Man's Sky. We will see No Man's Sky June 2016. What do you guys feel about them pushing it so far back when I was a beta tester of this game about 2 months ago. So how do you guys feel about kind of a pushed back release? They were kind of shooting for early spring, kind of that February, March time frame. So how do you guys feel about that?
Hey, I know the more time they take to make the game better, I'm perfectly fine with it. I mean, and right now it would be coming out at a really bad time. Obviously you got Black Ops 3, you got Halo 5, you got Fallout 4. You got plenty of competition, and even though I think that would probably draw the biggest market, maybe. At least you got a lot of those PC gamers and stuff like that. But generally speaking, having more time to develop the game is always going to be better in the long run. And so I'm pretty excited about it. I'm looking forward to June, and I will be playing it. I will be streaming it. Hell, I'm going to probably take days off around launch just to play it, because I want to go discover some planets. I want to go do whatever it is you're going to do there. Man, I wouldn't mind being that first person in the center of the galaxy. The race is going to be on, people.
Yeah, my
by
sole
the way,
mission.
I'm
Sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. By the way, people are saying that we had the helium voices again. I don't know if that's still the case. And oh, by the way, Master Chief, there you go. All right.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's if a game needs extra time to complete it, let them do it. The only downside for a game company or a game developer, if they wait too long, it loses its touch, its flair. People stop getting interested in it. But lucky for this company, who's the developer again? Anybody know?
Hello Games.
Hello Games. Because it's such a unique title, there isn't anything out there that I can compare this game with. That is what's drawing all the hype. That's what's drawing all the attention, and I'm on board with that. I'm totally hyped about this game. I can't wait for it to come out, and I think them pushing it until June is a good move. Only not only for reasons of them having to tweak everything, but there really isn't a lot of gaming that happens in the summer. Like a lot of game releases come around this time of year, but there really isn't a lot of stuff out there that's good to play in the summertime. So I think that's the other reason why they're pushing it until that time. But regardless, I'm going to be that guy that says, I'm proving you wrong. I'm going to find friends in No Man's Sky. I'm not going to the center universe, people. I'm looking for Angry. I'm looking for KDX. I'm looking for Proof. I'm looking for all you guys.
Everybody's
Yeah,
going towards the
yeah,
middle.
yeah.
He's going to be heading towards the outside. Just sit there and wait on the outside until somebody pops in.
That's right. That's
Like,
what I.
hi, can we be friends?
With No Man's Sky, like I said, I did get to play a week of beta, and it is so expansive. Like I honestly have no idea. I'm in school for game development right now, and I have literally no idea how they were able to pull this off. The textures are a bit basic. They're not Minecraft basic, but they are a little bit on the basic side. But it's still beautiful. It's still colorful and a vibrant universe. And to have so many randomly generated planets and solar systems in this massive space, it's just mind-boggling. It really is. It really reminds me of the random dungeons that you would find in a game, kind of like Dark Cloud 2, where every dungeon's different, nothing's the same, and every playthrough you do is a completely different experience. So every time you're going to log into the game, you're always going to have a different experience, whether you're choosing to do space battles or you're choosing to explore. I know one of the bug fixes that they were doing in the game was that the space combat was a little sluggish and a little slow. So they're trying to kind of ramp that up. I know that. But otherwise, I'm glad they're pushing it back to June. I can't wait for the title to come out. I'm going to be streaming it right alongside you guys, and it's going to just be a whole lot of fun. The next topic we have today is retro gaming. I'm referring to specific examples of Mario and Zelda and how those games have kind of influenced games that we see today. I'm not just talking about platforming or RPGs, but as far as art styles, music styles, and just overall feel of a video game, how those two specific video games kind of paved the way for what we see today. Things like Minecraft, Shovel Knight, even games like Destiny. You have an inventory manager in Zelda, and you see that now being displayed in Destiny to a much more complicated effect, but still an inventory of a plethora of items. Now, how do you guys feel that retro gaming has really impacted not only the present of gaming, but the future?
Well, I'll say for me, growing up with it back in the good old Atari 2600 days and NES days, I got appreciation for gaming that's happening currently versus what's happened back then. With Mario and Zelda in particular, there was a lot of clone copies of those two games back in the day. A lot of, I'm trying to think of, what is it? The Island game, Island Boy for Sega. Was that the title of it? I'm probably wrong, but It was something along the lines of a Mario clone, but with a different company sponsoring it. Bonk's Adventure, stuff like that. Those
Yeah.
those all were made from Mario games. They got the concept from it, and I'm sure they even used programming code from the game because they did a lot of sharing and a lot of really crappy games back in the day. But in terms of the way Mario has progressed into current style of gaming, you've got Rayman Legends. That wouldn't have happened if we didn't have games like Mario and the interest in it. Now, they did splinter off Mario 2, but they never went back to that version of it. So there is room to say that they did fail along the way. But for the most part, without Mario in our history bank of retro gaming, we wouldn't have a lot of the platformers that I love to play. Because my big thing is platformers. Platformer games are my bread and butter. I'll play everything, but I love platformers. So growing up and playing them along the way, you can see a lot of the built worlds that are a lot like the stuff that we played when we were kids. I feel old.
Well, you talk about companies copying other companies. I mean, the video game industry has a grand history of basically taking a good idea and copying it. I mean, even Pong. Okay, everybody knows Pong. When you say Pong, you instantly know what it is. But Pong was a copy of another game, and Pong wasn't even the original. Everybody kind of thinks of Pong as the original, but it wasn't. So that's just it. I mean, and we're talking about retro gaming and influencing, modern gaming. Let's take Destiny for an example. Back in the day, games weren't about story. What do we got now? Destiny, no story. Well, kind of a story. It's kind of a shell of a story, just like Mario is a shell of a story going to try to find the princess. But it's pretty much the same thing. It was all about gameplay back then. And I think you're seeing a lot of that now, especially with the the indie scene, where it really took off over the last several years, and it's kind of leveled off now. But it was really about gameplay and mechanics, and we kind of lost that for a little while. But now it's kind of it's kind of come back at full circle in that respect. And even Zelda, I mean, Zelda had just a loose story. I mean, the old Zelda games, you had kind of a loose backstory if you read the manual, kind of. But other than that, read the back of the box. But other than that, it was just great gameplay. And so that's, I think, what some companies are starting to get back into with games like Shovel Knight and some of these other more, we call indie or smaller budget, games.
And I want to throw one thing in there, Kidix, before you start. The one thing that I'm sure the younger generation hasn't seen, but as we have got a couple decades behind us, I find that there's usually a 20-year cycle. Usually every 20 years, whatever was big and hip back then gets regurgitated into current pop culture. And you look at games like Shovel Knight and that sort of stuff, that is the stuff we played as kids 20 years ago. And I think that's also a reason why retro gaming is making a big return right now, because the games that we played back then are considered the retro style, versus the 70s style was the retro for the 90s, and so on. That is something to consider, the 20-year leap.
When I see retro gaming, you want to talk about a game that was copied, Tetris. Dear God, there was about 150 different clones of Tetris, and that came out literally weeks, maybe a month after the original Tetris came out. Now, the original Tetris is not the Tetris that we know. It was actually an Arabic version of the video game made for computers. Tetris was also the first video game in space. A Russian cosmonaut brought it up with his Game Boy and started playing Tetris in space. I thought that was kind of cool. But as far as the influence that I see today in gaming, I see a lot of people taking elements of different games like they used to back in retro gaming. You think of, RPGs like even Zelda Link to the Past and you think of, what Legend of Mana and things like that. Well, they took RPG elements from games like Oregon Trail, Text Quest, Dragon's Lair, things like that. They took all those retro games and they improved the elements and the structures of them. I feel like today we're almost hitting a slump of originality where we don't see that many original new titles coming out. Now, in the indie market, you do see the occasional, breakout game such as a Minecraft or Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight really didn't invent a platformer. They didn't really reinvent the platformer, but they brought it current. And with Minecraft, it was just the fact that you had infinite possibilities within a game world that we haven't really seen before. Maybe SimCity was closest to that. I'm not quite sure. But it gave you the ability to create basically whatever you wanted in a video game. And that was the big draw from Minecraft. Notch was definitely a genius when he came up with the idea. He was not the actual originator of Minecraft. He actually took elements from an older game. I don't remember the title. But I think it was like Cave Quest or something like that, where you're able to do amongst the same things. So everything's pretty much a clone of something else. It just depends on what ingredients they're going to throw into that cauldron at that time. I feel that the future of gaming, we're going to see more retro reboots. We're going to see a whole lot of Mario trapping, which Mario trapping basically means that you keep producing the exact same Mario game 10, 15 years, in a cycle. So every 15 years, you get the exact same Mario game, just with better graphics and music and whatnot. I feel like we'll see that with other genres as well. More RPGs are doing that with the Final Fantasy X and X-2 remixes, the newly announced Final Fantasy VII remake. You're seeing them kind of go back through the catalog and update those titles. Which is good. I like to really see that.
See, for me, I'm okay with them doing remakes of really great games, but there's a lot of remakes that have been flooding the market in the last year that didn't need to be remade. I just think that they need to focus on something new, or even if they're going to go with their same idea that they went before, make something new off of that idea. Don't repackage a game and give it to me. I've already got it. I don't need it again. Give me something new. Even with Mario games, I'm okay with the Mario formula. I love Mario games. I love the platformers. But I don't want them to make a Wii U version of Super Mario 3. An up-to-date version of that. I want something new. I want a new Mario game. I'm okay with remakes, but just don't flood me with a whole bunch of games I already have.
Well, I think what a lot of companies are doing is they're realizing that, people of our generation, people that grew up in the 80s, and even late 70s, 80s, and through the 90s, when video games are new. Now, guess what? We're in our late 30s, we're in our 40s. We've got disposable income, and we have that nostalgia for our childhood. It's like, man, I loved that game when I was a kid. Like, for example, Ninja Gaiden, man, I loved that game when I was a kid. I played it to death. If they offered it for sale right now, like an updated version of it, whatever, I wouldn't buy it because that game was a pile, dude. That game was so hard. But it's just those little things like that. It's all about that nostalgia and trying to get that that easy buck. It's just like the movie industry does the same thing. They always come out with these movies, that are, like when they came out with the new Poltergeist, right? They came out with all these other. I'm surprised they haven't come out with the new E.T. yet, and that's probably on the way. But what I'm saying is, it's all these
that'll
things
never
that,
be on the way.
But I mean, that's all these things that they're just rehashing old movies, and it's gonna happen. It's just an easy buck. People it has name recognition, it has the nostalgia. And honestly, I think a lot of people are running out of ideas. Like when we talk about where, the future of gaming now it has to evolve at some point. And somebody's going to come up with that idea, then people are going to start running with it. I think the next evolution of gaming may very well come in the virtual space, the virtual reality space, where it really, and it's not even necessarily, virtual reality headsets and stuff. It's about that immersion, whether it comes through that or, we get somehow find holodecks, it's about that immersion. And that's where I think the next, possibly the next step, evolution in gaming is going to be. Because we kind of led that way, when you talk about your RPGs and now your first person shooters and some of these other games, is all about that next level of immersion. And so I think that's kind of where, gaming is going to go, but we're still going to draw back from all these, legacy ideas that created and, built the video game industry to begin with. So there's going to be a Super Mario Brothers, virtual world that you can go jump around in, or whatever. It's going to happen. There's going to be a Zelda that you play on a virtual headset or something. So, it's there's no getting away from it because people just have too much nostalgia. Mario and Zelda were such great franchises and have so many great games that came out through the years. And I can't wait to play Metroid in a virtual headset. That's all I say.
Super Metroid.
Deaduet in the channel mentioned two games that I'd like to point out: Frogger and Prince of Persia. Well, with Frogger, we actually did have pretty much a remake of that, and that was Pac-Man 3D. If anybody remembers that was a pile and a half. And then we also had.
I played that for hours and hours and hours.
And then also for Prince of Persia, we didn't really get a remake of that, but we got an update, and that's called Uncharted. So that was basically the same gist. It was just, going in, treasure hunting and whatnot. It did have a slightly different storyline, but same game mechanics as a Tomb Raider or an Uncharted.
Well, the old Prince of Persia games, I mean, just to kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit, the original Prince of Persia game, the Prince of Persia games have always been about that parkour element. Because the original Prince of Persia game, the way back in the day was a little bit about the fluid motion of the character. And so now when you can kind of compare the more recent Prince of Persia games to Uncharted, I suppose, but it doesn't, Uncharted doesn't quite have that same the element of that parkour. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Continue, please.
Okay, no worries. Next topic is basically for the chat. We're gonna offer a little bit of advice for the chat. First up is stream setup tips. Now, I know most people start out, streaming from the consoles and whatnot, see if they can kind of get their feet wet in it. Is there any tips that you'd like to give your fellow streamers here in the channel? Some tips on going forward and maybe some key advice that they might not have heard yet, or they might not quite understand and need explanation on.
I would say
who has to take that? Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'll start because I think the most simple thing, and maybe it's something they've heard. It really depends on how much research they get. The more you really look into it, and believe me, I've spent hours doing research, reading, listening, watching, whatever, and one of the basic things that I learned is that you have to love it first. You have to. Let me kind of back up for a second. First of all, you have to know exactly what you want from it. Okay, what do you want? Why are you streaming? Okay, is it because you think you're going to get internet famous and make a bunch of money? Is that why you're doing it? If you're doing it for that reason, well, good luck to you. It's chances are it's not going to happen. There's several million streamers. And there's only like 11,000, I think what they said is 11,000 partnered streamers, which is a very small amount comparatively. You are competing against guys that are, guys and gals who are very much established, so you have to really understand, what are you doing it for? Why are you streaming? For me, I decided why I started streaming is because the one reason I play video games now as an adult is for interaction with different people. And I don't always get that just by streaming just on my own, because people aren't on or whatever. And so I use streaming as kind of an outlet for that. And I've become very passionate about it, and that's why I do it every day to hang out with, who I see as my friends. So, you have to realize, why are you doing it first? Okay. And make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And then, if you're going to do it, make sure you love it, because if you're not having fun, it's going to come off in your stream, and, you're going to, it's not going to go where you want it to go. And the next thing I'll say is be patient with it. You got to be patient with the whole process. I mean, so I don't know. I'll kind of stop there. I'll let Monsters and KDX kind of step in and give their 2 cents there.
Well, I'll go on a different aspect of it, money-wise, because it's not cheap, people. It's not cheap to stream. Now, the best way to start up is basically a console. If you go with a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, they have pretty good streaming technology in there, good enough for you to get started. And you're not going to have to buy a really big PC with a whole bunch of setup. You can use the mic, you can use the cameras on either system to broadcast your face, and that's a good starting point because they've got a chat window set up there for you. All the work is done on their end, and you don't really have to do a lot of setup. Now, you are limited to what they have to offer. You have to stick with what they've got, but it's a good stepping stone if you're looking into going into streaming before spending all of this money. I'm not turning my camera around in this room, but there's enough stuff in here that people go, are you nuts? But yeah, I accumulated all this over time, and if you get into streaming, you'll start doing the same thing. You'll be picking up things here and there. Maybe you'll get a capture card. Maybe you'll get a PC that runs better. Maybe you'll get a second monitor. Maybe you'll get a better mic. But these are all added costs. If you want to really get started, use one of the consoles because it's going to be your cheapest option without having to dive into capture cards and knowing all the ins and outs of streaming. I guess that's my tip for getting started.
And I'm going to go with one simple word: patience. I started streaming July or August. No, before that, May. I started streaming in May. And the first month and a half, I was below 10 followers. I didn't have anybody to talk to, really. I was playing a game that nobody was watching, which was Final Fantasy X. That was my stream startup. And it was rough. I was like, okay, I might get one person in here for about 30 seconds, and then they're gone. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Am I not talking right? What's happening? And then, watching streams was actually the best way for me to learn. Dear God, wow. Really, guys? Anyway.
Well, we were told that we weren't smiling enough, so I thought,
yeah,
I'll bring a big old smile.
I'll go ahead and talk like this. How about that? I can't do that. But it's patience. It's really a waiting game. You have to be consistent. You have to be candid. But you can't, tell everybody your social security number, of course. But you gotta, kind of let people into your world a little bit. And yeah, it does kind of weigh on you a little bit because, yes, you are on a schedule, 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. or, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every single day. And that's where you are every single day. And you're there for them. We are here for you guys. Right now, none of us are partnered. We're not making money on this. This is our own investment. And we're doing this because we enjoy it. And you have to love it. Like Iceberg said, you have to love what you do. If you stream for, 2 months and you're not loving what you do, but you want to stream to get money, you're never going to go anywhere. It's just not going to happen because you're not going to fall in love with streaming. You're not going to fall in love with the chat. And you're going to start resenting it. You'll burn yourself out doing so. The biggest advice I can say is, yes, start out with a console. I started streaming out on a console with the PlayStation camera. And I generally moved up. I got a capture card, learned how to use OBS, and now I use XSplit. I still use my console for gaming. That's going to change here in about a month or so, maybe a little less than a month. I'll be doing some more PC things, and it's just time. You guys have to be committed to the long haul. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Also, diversify. If you guys can, start up a YouTube channel. Put some of your good clips up on YouTube. It's a good way to diversify, maybe get some more people in. And also use social media. If you have a lot of friends on Facebook, if you have a lot of people on Twitter that you guys follow, and you guys can, tweet at, KDX Gaming, or tweet at Monsters Rage or Angry Iceberg, that might expose you to a whole new social group that you haven't been exposed to yet. So those are a few of my tips on how to kind of get from the ground floor of, booting up that stream for the first time to, being able to be comfortable in your own skin while talking and playing a video game at the same time, because it is pretty taxing. So those are my tips. The next tip I'd like to talk about is, how do you guys avoid trolls in your channel, or how do you deal with the trolls that come up in your channel? Sometimes people do come into chat and they're not the kindest to people, and they decide to make the Twitch experience a little less than enjoyable. We'll start with Iceberg on this one.
Well, it really depends on how they approach the stream. If there's certain lines that I don't allow anybody to cross in my stream. But what I like to do is I like to get the chat involved and let them have fun with the trolls. Because the trolls come in and try to be disruptive, but if you can kind of turn it on them, it can actually make for a really fun chat, for a really fun stream. And so, that's generally how I like to do it. Other times I just ignore them. It really depends on the situation. You can't really let the troll get you down, because that's what they're there for. They're there to try to make you feel bad. But if you can actually turn it against them, it can really be a lot of fun. So, like one time I remember I muted a guy, or actually one of my mods muted a guy, and I told him, hey, go to Google and come up with some better lines. And we waited and we unmuted him, and he came back, and he came back with something kind of funny. Actually made me laugh. And then eventually we ended up banning him. But the point was, we had a a good little discourse with him. It was actually a lot of fun, and so you kind of have to have the right attitude for him. You cannot let them get you down, because they're going to come in and they're going to pick any little flaw that they can, and then try to bring you down. So, but whatever. Like Palmer's in here. He says that I'm mad or angry. That's perfect, because I'm Angry Iceberg. So there, that's my whole shtick. That's why I have my name. So he nailed it right on the head. So anyway.
Trolls. Trolls come into my room every once in a while, and for me, excuse the phrase, but I like to fuck with them. I like to mess with them. If they start any crap in my room, I usually immediately target them and say some pretty stupid stuff. But stuff enough to make them realize that they don't matter. They don't matter, and they never will. And there's people watching me, entertained by me, and you don't matter. Bring the ban hammer! And then I just ban them. It's that simple.
Usually what I'll do is I'll wait for a few lines. I'll wait for the dialogue to come in. And if they try to post a link, it's instantly banned by Twitch and by Nightbot. I have no say in that. It's instantly not available to anybody in my channel. But then I start reading a few things. I'm like, okay, well, this person's clearly a troll. And then I'll start to act like I'm actually viscerally upset that a troll is trolling me. Like I'll start acting like, oh my god, somebody doesn't like me on the internet. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, ban. The ban hand will come out of nowhere. I'll just poof. And it's funny to do. And then I just write in chat, poof. Gone.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, don't let trolls get to you. You're there to entertain people. And it's just like somebody on television. If they have a call-in show, every once in a while, maybe a screener doesn't catch somebody, and they have to deal with that situation. It's no different. So you get a troll in your room, don't let them bug you, because they truly don't matter, and just get rid of them. There's no need fighting with them, because that's exactly what they want, and don't give them what they want. Make fun of them, get rid of them. Done.
All right. The next one, we have two more topics, both Star Wars. We're going to start off with the Star Wars review embargo. Now, Star Wars, the makers, DICE and EA, put a review embargo out on the game until its release. This signifies that something might not quite be right. Do you guys get the same feeling?
I don't know. I think with games, the embargo, having it a week early was okay, but to have the embargo for, like, for instance, we're in North America here, and we get game releases on Tuesdays. And people overseas, they usually don't get those same games until Fridays. So the embargo gets lifted on our end because it's been released. But at the same time, anybody over there, now granted, they're coming in and watching, but sometimes you can't get away from social media. And, videos get sent out there, and you click on a link, and bam, the game is spoiled for you. So I think that 3-day variant where we're allowed to have everything going, like I was streaming Star Wars today, and in the UK, I had somebody come into the room and say, "Why are you streaming this? This game isn't out yet." So I think the embargo, if it's going to be in that situation, it has to be lifted everywhere across the board. And I don't think that if we have it 3 days early, that we should still be able to, like, I shouldn't be able to stream it right now. I'm fully in support if they just told us we can't do it until Friday, even though it is out now, because it's not fair to other people.
Yeah, ditto, man. I mean, I guess I don't really have any thoughts. You go right ahead.
With the Star Wars embargo, now usually I would not have a comment on this, or I really wouldn't even bring it up on a podcast. But EA allowed 10 hours of gameplay, early access to the game for everybody who pre-ordered it and had that EA Access pass. Now, from my understanding, why couldn't you go ahead and review that game with that solid 10 hours of gameplay? My theory is that EA was somewhat trying to hide some of the flaws that the game mode clearly shows now. And that is Walker Assault, their flagship game mode, is horribly unbalanced in most maps. In Endor, if you're the Rebels, you win. In Hoth, if you're the Empire, you win. Unless an act of God happens, that's happening. And there's not really much you can do about it because, yes, you are reliving the story of the movies. I understand that. But maybe for the new generation that's coming up, maybe they haven't seen the old Star Wars movies. They have no idea. So new players coming into the game might feel a little bit cheated that, some maps favor some sides. And you don't get to really pick your side. You don't get to really experience that. And another criticism that I have is the fact that the customization for weapons, armor, and gear seem really basic. I played the demo of it. I watched the free 10 hours of EA Access, and I watched the full release. And it just looks like there's no real customization when it comes to this game. Weapons, unlocks, and things like that. Yeah, you can unlock a few things here and there, but it doesn't even really make a difference. How you guys feel about that?
Yeah, the unlocks is a store. It's pretty much what it is. You're not upgrading weapons. You're just using money from the matches to buy them. But that's like Call of Duty. I mean, Call of Duty did the same thing where you just earned experience and leveled up to your next rank so you could unlock certain weapons. But not as, it's not as customizable as Call of Duty, but same setup. That's pretty much what it is. You've got cards that you can select to set up for your grenades if you want a side pistol for close range. The last thing that I unlocked was a rocket launcher for vehicles. So I mean, there is some diversity there, but you're right. It's Star Wars. That's why you're buying it. That's why you're playing it. Star Wars is great, and I'm the first one to be like, Star Wars, because I played that today, man, and I couldn't get enough. Like we're finishing at 9:30, get ready for it right now, and I was like, I'm not done playing this damn game. So we're gonna have to play that again tomorrow. But I've got no issues with the game. I was having a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of different modes that weren't included in the beta. Um, what is it? Hunt the hero mode, where you'll have three of the dark side and three of the light side of the force battling against each other with a couple of clone troopers and Rebel Alliance characters. And the object of the game is to kill the other three. If it might be Darth Vader and Boba Fett and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. And basically, the gist of it is kill the other team's special characters before your teams die. So it's capture the flag, but you're using people instead of flags. It's great. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't played it, and I really have no intention of playing it in the very near future. Everything that I've watched, I've already figured out it's really not the game for me. I don't like very large, map engagement type, games. It's very much a multiplayer game as far as multiplayer shooter, which I mean, I'm fine with because obviously I played Destiny, I played Call of Duty, and all that stuff. But I think that the one way that I would have played it or bought it is if there was a decent single player campaign to go through, or even a co-op, campaign to go through, something to that effect. But I mean, for me, just what I've watched of it, it's just I know not something that I'm gonna be real interested in.
Yeah, there is a co-op element to it, but it's not campaign. It's basically waves. So you'll have you and your friend play through. I believe I haven't done it yet, but I believe you get 15 waves of enemies, and I guess the last wave is going to be a super villain or a good guy, depending on what side you're on. But that's the only co-op aspect to that game. The rest is it's Battlefield.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah. With Battlefield like that, I chose not to pick it up. I was originally planning on picking up. The screenshots look amazing. The game, audioly and visually, is absolutely outstanding. And if that's what you guys want, if you guys want to feel like you're inside the movie, get the game. I recommend it for that alone. But if you're looking for that quick twitch shooter, that Call of Duty but Star Wars, you're really not getting the full game that you want. I would say that it's more like a $40 kind of arcade PvP title than a $60 AAA title.
And let's not forget about the extra $50 for all the DLC content included on that.
Yeah, it's a total of about $110 to about $120 with tax to get everything, and that's a little bit insane. I know you guys are getting one free DLC, Planet, the Battle of Jakku, which might be pretty exciting. That's not in the movies. That's just going to be, some extra war that they throw in, but we don't have a single-player campaign to explain the war that you're being thrown into. So that's a double-edged sword. You have really no idea what you're doing unless you've read the Star Wars books and you know the lore behind the movies and whatnot. I believe that's all the topics tonight. If you guys have any other topics, we can bring that up right now.
Nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. I think we covered quite a bit of information here tonight. We sure did.
Yeah, yo.
All right, we're just going to go around the table here and tell us where we can find each other, tell us what you do, and tell us when you go on. We'll start with Rage.
This is going to be a long list. All right. I play campaign stuff during the mornings, 10 o'clock until 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then I'm back on from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, playing just a random variety of games. On Saturdays, I'm off. Sundays, I'm doing a 6-hour stretch, 3 until 9. You can find me at twitch.tv/monstrousrage, all lowercase. Come on by. variety, yeah, bop, bop, bop. That's what you're gonna get when you come over to my channel. A lot of stumbling over words. That's what you're gonna get. Come on by, watch me be an idiot. Next.
All right. Of course, we start with I am a daily Destiny streamer. I really don't do the variety game stream thing. It's just not my style. I just love Destiny too much. Like I was talking about earlier in the podcast, played Fallout 4 for a couple hours, and all I could think about is I need to be playing Destiny. So that's pretty much what it's going to be my gig for until I find something that find
No
something
Man's
that
Sky.
really, yeah, No Man's Sky maybe. We'll see. Well, I mean, I always I wanted to play Star Wars Battlefront at first till I saw it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's way too far in the future for me to think about right now. Anyway, so you want to come and check me out? I'm usually on in the evenings. Every day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is during the earlier afternoon. I get on and stream pretty late. You can find me at twitch.tv/angry_iceberg, as you can see here. Also, I have Twitter. Twitter is at @angry_iceberg. Also, Facebook. You can come in and like the old Facebook page at facebook.com/theangryiceberg, all one word. We also have the Major Rager Gaming Community. Search for that on Facebook. It's our gaming clan that we're putting together. My boy Big Mike is spearheading that. And finally, I'll take this time to announce, and it's not really announced, but I kind of talked about it a little bit, but the angryiceberg.com. Angryiceberg.com is in the works, people. This is actually a site going to be dedicated to the community. It's not just about me. It's about our community and our network of gamers. So you'll be seeing that coming out real soon. So again, just come and see me every day on twitch.tv. Hit those follow buttons, hang out. I'm almost to that 1,000 follower mark, which means 24-hour stream coming up whenever I can schedule that. So yeah, hit that follow button, people, and come hang out with me playing some Destiny. Oh, one other thing. I do also stream every Saturday morning on iHeartRadio. You want to listen to me if you like country music, it's your stream. That's not really my favorite, but it pays the bills. KCAD, you want to search on iHeartRadio. So there. I think I had enough plugs. No, wait, there's one more. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Angry Iceberg's going AAA on us, ladies and gentlemen. And you guys already know who I am. You guys are in my stream right now. Twitch.tv/KDX Gaming, where I am KDX, but we are gaming. Twitch stream dedicated to helping you in game and in life. This has been episode number 5 of the Loading Screen Podcast, featuring, once of course, the bald-headed beauty, Monsters Rage, the living emote, Angry Iceberg, and me, KDX Gaming. I'd like to thank you guys all for coming out tonight. And as always, keep calm and game on.